Australian Aboriginal culture is the oldest living culture in the world. It is kept alive through language, art, dance, performance, sharing of dreaming stories, and the protection of significant sites and objects. The oldest object, a human skull, was found in Cubawee, near Warwick, Queensland. It was carbon dated to be over 40,000 years old. It is believed Bundjalung people came from further north and settled between Logan River in Queensland and the Clarence River in northern New South Wales, and going as far as inland as Tenterfield on top of the Great Dividing Range. Bundjalung families lived in harmony with the natural environment. Like other Aboriginal culture, they belonged to the land and the land belonged to them. Country provided food, shelter, fire, ceremony, tools, stories, and above all, custodianship. Cultural identity was tied to complex kin and tribal understandings. In the late 19th century, European colonisation and settlement began the dispossession of all Australian Aboriginal peoples. For the Bundjalung clans throughout the mid-late 18th century, dispossession was spreading throughout the area. Aboriginal people were subjected to various maltreatments and controls. This included violence. The government policies prevented or restricted their movement to practice their cultural traditions. In the 1800s, restrictions included the segregation of families under government gazetted reserves. There were 13 clans in the proximity of Lismore City Council boundary. We are talking about tribal people who were closely related by kinship. So, the people moved around freely within boundaries, but each respected tribal law. This short story will document the life of Lyle Roberts Sr., the last Bundjalung man to pass through the full rites of initiation and his fight for self-determination for the Roberts family. It will track the movements of Lyle Roberts Sr. and the Roberts family to the eventual formation of the self-managed Aboriginal Reserve of Cubawee.
Kalangai wia yarwan yarbalen ngalinga jakon ko. I'm singing a Cubawee song. Bundjalung song. The tribe of the Northern River, New South Wales. Ger ben bangaya ger ben bangaya bule ol dal ngol ngai nayol ngai ngayalande ngayalande ngaya yarel nal ngol ngai nayol ngai ngai yarel nal ngol ngai nayol ngai ngai kanangan gala bergala mamba aladangai angala aladangai angala bergala mamba dengan berunggala dengan berunggala wandai orang beli dengan berunggala dengan berunggala Hey, Angala. That's a fun that probably. Cubawee.
Lyle says in readings, he was born where his mother was born. And he says, I was born in Rotary Park, just up near the hospital. But that place up there is the Guyange place. That's the Guyange. That's the Guyange for the women. That's women's place, women business. Guyange, Jalliga. That's the birthing place.
This is that tree here.
Must be the big one.
This one here. This is that birthing tree here.
Great grandfather said he was born here, see?
This is where he was born here, look. Here. This is our special tree, the Guyange Jalliga. Then Poplar used to talk about.
Yeah.
This is about 1,000 generations here where we stand. We're part of that 1,000 generation. We're part of that. This special tree here is very special to the local Widjabul mob. Right. Widjabul is the land. All right. Waibul is us. Waibul means the people. So when you talk about Widjabul Waibul, yeah, it's connecting to the land and also consulting with the people. My name is Gilbert Laurie. I'll tell you my skin name is Wewe, dolphin. It's a dolphin, means dolphin. Yeah, I'm a descendant of my Widjabul mob. Yeah, they like to call it Rotary Park in the western way of, you know. We got a name for this Rotary Park. It's called the Guyange Jalliga. The Guyange Jalliga. The Guyange is a possum. The Jali is a tree. It's a big fig tree in here. And the Gar is a place. This is a special place to us, the Guyange, the Jalliga. This is our birthing place. I'd say, what is that place to us? Why is it making me feel like that? They explained it to me. It is a birthing place. It is a woman's place, so when I walk around in here and I know what this place is, I have got respect for the place. We'll just do a little acknowledgement with a fire, all right? Yeah. With a Wedra. Wedra da galanya, yawe? Garama da galaningala Wedra, eh? Respect the fire. So I'm going to do a little acknowledgement for you guys. I say nyagala janda mandi, Widjabul joganani, yawe? Gala walda galaningala banjalang joganda, yawe ga? So I acknowledge the land of the Widjabul, of my ancestors, the Widjabul people, or the Widjabul land, of our great big nation, the Bunjalung nation. And I'd like to pay my respect to the old people too, all right? Without them, we would not be here, especially on this special place here, the Guyange Jalliga. The old people comes from this word, all right? In the English language, they call it smoke. In our language, we call it a jum. All right? The colour of the smoke, the colour of our old people's hair. We'll call our old people Jumbana. Jumbana. Right? So I say, Garamada Galaningola Jumbana and Bugubeda Galaningola Jogana. Right? Thank you for welcoming us to our country. This is Nalina de Galaningola Jogana. This is our country. We say Nalina. Nalina Jogana, our land. It's Garamada Galaningola Yambalani. It's respect. Yamba is how we walk. Garama, Jogana. Respect as we walk on our land.
So when they moved from Rotary Park, swamp everywhere. So they probably kept to the high ridges. And, you know, the tracks were all worn tracks and things. So they're not cutting their way with a knife or something, you know, to get somewhere. So the track's clear. And they probably, after the old fellow was born, they took him back home, and that's where he was nurtured and grew up, around the area here. And then the time came for him to be initiated by the tribe's elders, which would have happened at the old ceremony site at Tucky Tucky.
There was 2 boar rings here. Very special place this is, because this was an initiation place for the young men. There was an opening coming in over to that way. There was another boar ring over there about another 200 metres away. That's where they would prepare the young men to come into the main boar ring. They would sing them in, and this is where the full initiation of the young men would happen, in this particular area. Very significant place, this one. The grooving in this particular rocks was a sharpening of the tool. See how they got the little grooves in them? So it was this sort of, it would have been making the spearheads or making the tools of our ancestors are what they utilise them for. So this is one of the carving rocks which is here, which they put here and permanently put, but there would have been more around, because like I said, you're turning the young boys into a man. They would have got learnt how to sharpen the tools. They would have learnt how to make tools. So this was a very specific place for that teaching and learning for the next generation, for the young men. Alright, so that's what we got, the carving rock.
The elders would have passed on their knowledge of traditional laws and dreaming stories, so that one day he could lead the tribe. He would have been born into leadership because his father, his name was Buljul. He was the leader, he was the chief of the tribe then. The tribe could have been thousands of Aboriginal people in that tribe at the time, because you can walk anywhere around here as a tribe, as a tribal group. But you knew your tribal law and where you can go and where you can't go. He would have learned all that from his father and also his elders at the time. In the years after his initiation, he would have moved around with his people in the Warella area. When the family moved out to Warella area, that was part of their tribal lands where they can learn to go out and hunt and look, move camp here and there when the food source get exhausted, I'd imagine. End up going out there, and they stayed out there. Life must be pretty good out there. But see, at the same time when they were there was a small school. Wouldn't call it a school though. Probably a little tin shack, little shed. But a young girl by the name of Jessie Munro, someone asked her to take over and teach the school children, the non-Aboriginal children, from the different small farms around the area. And I believe that school there today at Warella is on the same location. And the elders got together and decided to send 2 of the tribe's children to the school. I think he wanted to learn what people were saying in English, not his language. He must have, because when he knew about this school was going on there, he sent Victor and Tilly. He wanted them to learn their language, the English language, so he can get a better understanding what that fellow's talking about over there. And I can talk to my children and say, what's he talking about? Ah, okay. And have a conversation 3-way between a white man and himself. And because they had to be registered with the Government Act, again, good old government policy, they couldn't have their own name, so there was 5 surnames, and Roberts was one of them. I'm glad they didn't call her Smith, because there's too many Smiths around. So she called give them the surname Roberts. So they go down on the register, and Tilly and Victor, that's what we're going to call them. And they thought things were pretty good there, but then they brought that Sir John Robertson Act in, where the Land Act come in there, was started breaking up different sections of land, and to keep that land separate from your neighbour, they put in a barbed wire fence. So that's why they moved way down to Cubawee Island, because they kept going across someone's fence onto someone's land to chase their traditional food, and that can't happen. That's why they packed them up again and took them down to Cubawee Island. The rest of the family got taken down there in the back of a cattle truck or trucks. But grandfather stayed behind because his father was nearly dying by then. He was ill. So he stayed behind, probably him and maybe some other younger people of the family, men, and they stayed behind until he passed away. Then they would have ceremony for him and everything. Once ceremony completed, that's when great-grandpa then walked down, I'd say, down to Cubawee Island. And when he got there, everything was pretty good. So we were down at Cubawee Island, Numberjing, people of the Reeds. And this is where great-grandfather moved to. This is where Lyle come to. They set up camp here, and they would have been welcomed here. This is where all the boys and 2 girls were born down here. And they grew up here. They've been nurtured, and other families come in here too, not only from Lismore side, but there's families here from Kempsey. These that come as far away as Tenterfield. This was home. The life here would have been good for them, I'd say. There was work around the area, they worked. By that time there would have been some sugar cane probably coming on, being grown around here. There would have been plenty of fishing in the river, of course, in the Richmond River. Crabs. There would have been bush tucker. They knew how to forage for food, and they survived. They weren't making a nuisance of themselves up at Warrella, Tucky area, but with protocol, with corroboree going on, song and dance. So the people that owned those properties complained, and the family moved down this way. Before they left from here, when the mission manager came again, because the mission manager, the white mission manager, it seemed to upset the apple cart every time with Lyle, because he was his own man, he was a thinker. He didn't need anybody telling him what to do. And why not? You know, you got to move around the place, want to do your own thing. So once the mission manager come here, they moved away. And I dare say probably would have been a long walk back up to North Lismore. So they went from Cabo, that's when they got a status again, just changed to a station, a white fella. Nah, old fella want to be self-determined. We're our own people. We don't need to be told by anybody, you know. We don't need to be told. We are our people. We know who we are. We know where we come from. We know where to go. We know what land we're on. We know if we trespass over here, we've got to go and let them know we're coming. That's the law. That's tribal law. We know this. So when they went from Cubawee Island, North Lismore was the only place they knew where they can go to, because that was one of their old camping grounds.
Yumbalag Jingiwala, Nungar Georgian. This is my country. My name is Thelma Jane James, Thelma Jane Crummy. We are the people of Benyenbagan, which is the hill that's behind me, which is the part of the nation's story about the Namal and the snake. The dreaming of this area is the Namal, which is a giant goanna. We often call it, this hill behind us, the sleeping lizard, but that's changed over time but it's a Namal, which is a large goanna. And it started up at Glasshouse Mountains, a tribe up there who found that the snake was gubbing and taking all the food. So they asked the Namal to come in and chase the snake away, which he did, and that created the landmass all the way around the hills, the valley, the creeks, the land formed, and that's where he sat. The goanna's head was leaning into the river so he could have a drink, but when they put the road through, they cut off his head. Most of the dreaming or the song lines go along the ridges of places. So people would stop on the tops of the ridges. If you came onto somebody else's song line, you would sit, make a fire until somebody came out and welcomed you. You didn't trespass and come through. But with the song line, it put a lot of things into place for a lot of Aboriginal people. People came together to sort out territories again, to put the house in order. It was like going to the big government. You put your houses in order, your place is up there, your place is over here, this is your border, and also for marriages. North Lismore isn't north, it's north of the Leicester Creek. Old Isle, when they come back, they moved where the sleeping lizard's head is and made a camp there.
My ancestors' place was in Benyenbagan country over in North Lismore, along Leicester Creek. Over there where the Italian club is now, or used to be, still is there, the Italian club, but not used anymore. But just beside the Italian club, there used to be an old sawmill there. And that sawmill was where the old camping ground used to be, from the ancestors. So they went back there. They were only there for a short period of time before they got moved out to Modenville. So they took them out there because there was a Aboriginal community out there set up already. So here we are at Modenville. This is part of the property where the tribe came here when they moved out of North Lismore. Over my right-hand shoulder is the 460 odd acres of land, is where all the Aboriginal people lived, all our people lived up there. And they had their own school on the settlement. Part of that school is they got the old steps are still there from the original school. So the children, they attended school, and by all accounts they really liked it. They were taught English, they were taught other studies too, of course, how to write, how to read. Pretty idyllic place. They grew a lot of crops, they grew fruit and veggies to sustain themselves. I believe they even had some draft horses here to do the ploughing. So life was pretty good here, but it wasn't meant that way because, again, the rules changed when they put on a white manager here. The government changed the rules, and Grandfather didn't want that to happen, so he got him and his family and they started walking back to North Lismore. Self-determination, away we go. So that's why they ended up back in North Lismore, because that was part of country. That's where they wanted to set up camp again and waited for the next move was going to happen, which would have been, who knows, until complaints came in about Aboriginal people living there and if there's any noise, probably noise would be just singing and ceremony, that sort of thing. But then the complaints came up, and I was only there for a short time, and the police said, oh, well, we better move them out here to Tunstessa Reserve. I think they brought them out in the back of a cattle truck to defend for themselves. They set them up here, and that's where they stayed and thrived. Well, see, Lyle, he was the chief of the tribe, of his people. So he took on the responsibility of looking after them. And whatever he said and where he went, they would have followed him. So this was the last place they ended up coming here when they came back from North Lismore. The legal status here was it was a travelling and camping stock reserve. The yards haven't changed. And here is what, 6 acres or so. Not a lot of land, but owned by the Protection Board, Land Protection Board here in Lismore. My great-grandfather called this Cubawee, and it means a place of plentiful bounty. And one thing about Cubawee, we didn't go hungry because Aboriginal people know how to survive. And around here was a lot of food, a lot of bush tucker food. And of course we had Leicester Creek over the back here, which ran on the edge of the property. And at the time, there was only 13 homes, I think it was. Well, if you want to call them that, but some were nicely built, but others, they call them little hutments. Our place up here on the left-hand side, it's probably about 2 or 3 houses up. That's where Cedric lived, and Agnes, Mum and Dad, of course, brother Lionel, Colin, me, Cecil, and Oral. So there was 7 of us living in this it's a little hut, corrugated iron, probably 14 foot long, if that, by about 8 or 9 foot wide. And we had hessian bags sewn together, and they divided the room up, the one room. But yeah, the place wasn't very big, but we called it home. To keep the place clean and the grass short out here, we used to do burn-offs probably twice a year, and we kept the grass short, kept it clean. Kept all the rodents away and vermin and whatever. And people can walk around. I know Dad used to do it sometimes, put a match to it. Little bits and pieces would have been done at it, not all together, but little bits and pieces here and there. So you got control of it. On the railway line here, it used to be all burnt right to the railway line. Because we had a railway siding just over there where the train used to stop, the old steam train. When I was brought up here, this place was always clean. No broken bottle, glass I should say. No rubbish anywhere. You have discussions. Not really full-on arguments, because this was a dry place. And all our men and some of the women, they worked around here on the banana plantations. And most of the Italians owned the farms around here. So we did have money. We must have had some money because people had cars. Families had cars. It was what you call self-determination. And we looked after each other. And that's what this place was all about. That's what the old fellow was about, great-grandfather. The church was right about this side of the little gully. There's a little gully down there, this side of the gully where the little clump of trees It was only small church too, you know. So everybody went to church on Sunday. When I say little, it was little. You probably only could fit about 15, 20 people. It was pretty small. Grandfather Frank Roberts, he was a minister of the church, ordained minister, and him and some of the elders, the men and women, they looked after this place, made sure it ran accordingly, it was clean. I don't remember us ever having any welfare checks here. There was rumours getting around the place was a rowdy place and all this and that, but that was never the case. Probably got a bit rowdy when we used to have church rallies here. There could have been 400 or 500 people here. And they'd camp over for, who knows how long. And they were always provided for. Always had food, had a cup of tea, somewhere to stay. They were the big church rallies we used to have here too, so Grandfather Frank, he was in charge of that. Like I said, good times. Place became overcrowded. And there were some interested non-Aboriginal people in Lismore that fully supported and backed Grandfather Frank and the community here. And they were pretty sincere about how we lived. And I suppose one way of moving forward from here, because they wouldn't build any more proper housing out here, because to build one house out here, I think it used to cost about £25, which was a lot of money. So it was decided by Lismore City Council at the time that they put in a submission for, I think, 6 or 8 housing buildings in town in Lismore. And I remember Bruce Carroll, Uncle Brucey and Auntie Joni Carroll. They were one family that moved into town. My parents, Cedric and Agnes Roberts, we left in 62. The last family to leave here was the King family. They were the last to go out that gate out there. I think at the time they must have found tranquility here. After his passing, the place only thrived. And there was no bad things happening out here. Everybody worked. But I think Lyle, he had to be a true thinker, a leader, and like a lot of our other elders were. I think with his understanding of maybe learning the English word a little bit better, you can see what was going on, you can see what's happening around the place, because change was happening. And to make a change for his people, they had to go somewhere where there was going to be a safe place for them, where they could grow up and be nurtured. I think he could have been over all the different killings that took place in the early days, in the early years. And if we don't do something now, we might see our people die out, our race of people die out. And to do that, to survive, we've got to maybe think of the way the white man's thinking now and go along with what they're doing to survive. Just need to be told the journey of Lyle Roberts and where he came from, where he ended up, where his people today are still around. And his Roberts name's still living on, still here.